Welcome to ITO's channel. In this video we are going to talk about Top 10 MCU Movie Villain 2021. So before starting this video, like this video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future updates. Marvel Studios assembled a remarkable rogues gallery of villains and supervillains to keep our favorite superheroes on their toes throughout the first decade of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU. However, not all MCU villains are equal in terms of industrial strength evil. We've gathered the key Marvel villains you can expect to see in Phase 4 of the MCU, starting with Black Widow's enigmatic mimic, Taskmaster, since cinematic evildoing never sleeps. Citizens, this is the craven creme de la creme of MCU villains. Let's get started. Number 10. Ego. With the possible exception of Thanos, Ego is the simple winner of the MCU Poor Parenting Award. This godlike celestial, played by Kurt Russell with equal parts paternalistic charisma and chilling callousness, is capable of manipulating matter on a planetary scale but remains bored and unfulfilled. Instead of learning to play the ukulele or playing FIFA, Ego addresses his boredom by devising a scheme to replicate himself on thousands of planets, a scheme that requires the creation of another talented celestial, with the power to assist him in triggering this cataclysmic occurrence. Number 9. Johann Schmidt, Red Skull. Being Adolf Hitler's protege is a despicably good place to start, when it comes to bad guy credentials. Hardcore Nazism, on the other hand, is just a warm-up exercise for Johann Schmidt. Red Skull, Hugo Weaving, retrieves the Tesseract. After a brush with an untested sample of the super soldier, serum gives him his distinctive scarlet, skull-like noggin. Then he uses it to build superweapons for his new off-the-books organization, Hydra, with his scientist buddy Arnim Zola, Toby Young. He then begins plotting to depose his old mentor, Adolf Hitler. Of course, Steve Rogers, Captain America, and the Howling Commandos succeed in returning Red Skull's bony butt to him, before the ice nap, but Scully isn't finished yet. As seen in Avengers, Infinity War and Avengers, Endgame, when Red Skull, now played by Ross Marquand, died, the Tesseract transported him to planet Vormir, as an everlasting punishment for his transgressions. On the positive side, his new role leading those in search of the Soul Stone allows him to fully embrace the hooded cloak, Grim Reaper look, so there's that. Number 8. Ronan the Attacker. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, a clearly evil name goes a long way. Yon-Rogg, from Captain Marvel, is a mean character, but his name sounds like a children's yogurt brand. Ronan the Accuser, on the other hand, sends out all the right, sinister messages. The fact that he's also a Skrull-oppressing, genocidal Kree psychopath on a mission to exterminate Xander just adds to his place in our top 10. Ronan, played with admirable menace by Lee Pace, is a powerful warrior in his own right, not only commanding his brutal accusers to do his bidding. There aren't many life forms in the galaxy capable of easily subduing Drax the Destroyer, and far fewer with the brass neck to double-cross Thanos and pinch the Power Stone for themselves. In the 1990s, Captain Marvel comes dangerously close to killing him, and the Guardians of the Galaxy finish the job decades later, but not before Ronan kills the entire Nova Corps fleet, and comes dangerously close to killing Star-Lord and his mates. It's enough to make you want to eat a six-pack of Yon-Roggs to relieve your tension. Number 7. Ultron. Great villains achieve success in part because they see themselves as heroes in their own lives, their zealous energy coming from a conviction that they are on the righteous path, according to a wise individual. So it is with Ultron, Tony Stark's global defense policy gone wrong. As Stark and Bruce Banner use an AI they discover in the Mind Stone attached to Loki's scepter to complete a worldwide scheme designed to shield humanity from existential threats, Ultron, voiced with dark beauty and unexpected humor by James Spader, gains sentience. However, after seeing how we fleshbags go about things, Ultron determines that humanity is the real threat to the planet, and sets about creating an army of drones to exterminate us. Number 6. Hela. Hela's war of revenge against her kin isn't without blame, even though it risks inciting the wrath of all Asgardians. Odin's firstborn began her life as her father's super-capable right-hand goddess, assisting him in the conquest of the 9 realms. And what would she get in return? Odin imprisons Hela and erases her from history, fearing she is becoming too large for her boots' patriarchy. With Odin's death freeing her to discover that her baby brothers have no idea who she is, it's easy to see why she embraces her dark potential, and goes full villain, banishing Thor and Loki to space, and hatching plans to spread Asgard's empire in all directions using the Bifrost Bridge. Hela and her living hatstand headdress, as played by Cate Blanchett, are amazingly powerful and beautifully evil. So much so that the only way for Thor to kill her is to summon Vulture the fire demon and set off Ragnarok, Asgard's utter destruction. You figured squabbles with your siblings were bad enough. Number 5. Adrian Toomes, Vulture. Have you ever noticed how superheroes inadvertently lead to the development of their own foes? Ultron, Helmut Zemo, Killmonger, and Hela are all villains that arose from the misguided or thoughtless acts of heroes to varying degrees. With Vulture, it's a similar story. He starts out as an ordinary, blue-collar man, the owner of a salvage company tasked with assisting in the post-Battle of New York cleanup effort, depicted in the Avengers. Toomes' contract is terminated, his life is jeopardized, and Vulture's genesis is guaranteed as Stark Industries takes over the operation. Toomes' scheme is tiny in contrast to other MCU villains' megalomaniac schemes. He actually wants to make a lot of money by using salvaged Chitauri technology to build and sell experimental weaponry. Nonetheless, Michael Keaton portrays Toomes with such tense intensity that by the time he and Peter Parker have their prom night car conversation, you're afraid of what could happen. And if that's not a hallmark of a ruthless criminal, what is? Number 4. Helmut Zemo. Sokovian National Helmut Zemo, played by Daniel Bruhl with perfect concentrated self-control, is a remarkable MCU villain precisely because he is so unremarkable. Zemo breaks the Avengers in half without superpowers, cutting-edge technology, or the aid of interdimensional armies spit through a wormhole, relying solely on his intellect and an unquenchable desire to avenge his family's death in Age of Ultron's Sokovian incident. It was a stroke of genius to use Steve Rogers' loyalty to his old pal Bucky Barnes, aka the Winter Soldier, as a wedge to turn Tony Stark against his shield-flinging Bessie. In reality, Zemo's schism between Stark, Rogers, and their respective Avengers splinter groups is so intense that it takes Thanos' universe-wide threat to bring the team back together. Zemo is arguably one of the most influential villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, given that his only goal was to break the super team apart. Number 3. Thanos. The Avengers, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers, Age of Ultron, Avengers, Infinity War, and Avengers, Endgame are some of the most well-known superhero franchises. Thanos, the Mad Titan, everyone's favorite grape-flavored Ross Kemp impersonator, was destined to be the MCU's first decade's ultimate villain from the beginning. With a tantalizing post-credits appearance in 2012's The Avengers, a supporting role in 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy, and a post-credits, "Okay, I'll do it myself then," in Age of Ultron, he slowly began spinning the wheels of villainy, 2015. And oh, boy, did he ever. He snapped those gigantic purple fingers, and wiped out half of all life in the universe in an instant, after collecting the 6 strong Infinity Stones to create the spangliest accessory this side of Mardi Gras. Thanos, in his view, was doing his part to save the world from constant overpopulation. Of course, his words didn't matter to the billions of lives that were lost, or to those that were left behind to grieve. Number 2. Loki. Only Loki actively enjoys being evil. Thanos is conflicted, Red Skull is enraged, and Ultron is as cold and calculated as his code, but only Loki actively enjoys being evil. The self-styled god of mischief, Tom Hiddleston, obviously having a good time, may have ended up as more of an anti-hero in the MCU than a straight-up villain, but this is the same guy who attempted to subjugate mankind and led a full-scale Chitauri invasion of New York in the Avengers. Loki has rarely done the right thing alongside his adoptive brother Thor, when their ambitions briefly align, but he always reverts to his skin-saving, double-crossing ways the moment the coast is clear, guided entirely by sly self-interest. He brilliantly ended the MCU's first decade in the most Loki way possible, dying in an act of self-sacrifice in Endgame, only for a younger version of him to snatch an earlier version of the Space Stone, and travel to a new timeline where he gets to continue being the MCU villain we love to hate. Number 1. Anyadaka or Erik Stevens or Killmonger. As the first decade of the Marvel Cinematic Universe came to a close, the franchise's villains gained in authenticity and scope. We have Marvel's strongest expression of an antagonist yet in Black Panther's Killmonger, a completely realized villain who elicits empathy for his beliefs, while horrifying us with his methods. In The Attacker, Erik received the nickname Killmonger while working as a special operations soldier for the United States. His father, Wakandan Prince Njobu, was killed by Black Panther's father, T'Chaka, for attempting to spread vibranium-powered technology to marginalized peoples around the world. Killmonger's motives are straightforward, and, depending on your point of view, understandable. He wants to avenge his father's death, while still continuing his work to spread Wakanda's technological might to the world's downtrodden. What do you think of this video? Do let us know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from us again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go.